Welcome to the Business of Apparel podcast. This is the place to learn how to start and scale your own apparel brand and fill it with loyal customers for years to come. I'm your host, Rachel Erickson, owner and CEO of Unmarked Street, and I can't wait to share this episode with you. Welcome back to the Business of Apparel podcast. I just got back from a little walk. I was just feeling a little bit antsy as I was doing some stuff today and felt like I needed to get outside and go say hello to the ocean. And I didn't end up putting my feet in the sand today. There were actually quite a few people at the beach. The sun finally decided to come out here in Santa Cruz after it's been super rainy. So I think that's why a lot of people were out. And so I kind of just went down, checked things out. I took a bunch of deep breaths. I didn't do like a full meditation or anything. And then decided to come home. And one of the podcasts that I listened to on the way down to the beach today was by Ms. Jerisha Hawk, who I have had the most sincere pleasure of getting a chance to meet in person at a leadership retreat last year. She walked us through some of her amazing marketing information. And so I've been following her since then and listening to her podcast a lot. And one thing she was talking about today in her episode was how to know when to hire and when not to hire. Like, what is the right time for your business for like hiring help and who to bring in and what are kind of the triggers of that. And it really got me to start thinking about how it's not just important to know when you need to hire inside of your business so that you can start getting help, you can start learning how to delegate as a leader and start kind of growing your business in that way. But it also really got me thinking about how important it is to know yourself as a manager and as a leader when you go to start hiring. And so I wanted to talk through a little bit about what I mean by that today by giving you some great examples of how I've gotten a chance to hire throughout my career, and especially how I've been able to hire as a small business since starting Unmarked Street. So back in my corporate career, when I was working at different big companies throughout the apparel industry, one of my favorite things that I really got to do was interview new candidates to hire for my team. And one of the best examples of this was when I was at Specialized and I was promoted to development manager 9 months into my tenure there. They really gave me the opportunity to bring on some new people onto the team. Leadership was kind of shifting and we needed a couple new developers to come in. And so one thing that I definitely knew how to reach out to was people who I'd worked with in the past who maybe had taken other jobs and we might have worked really well together. But since, I left the job or they left the job, the place wasn't quite the right spot anymore. And that can happen, I think, at a lot of companies where if you have an amazing team, it's all about the people that you get to work with all day, every day. And when we were at Pearl Zumi together, there were about 5, 6, 7, or 8 of us. I can't even remember, but this core group of us really felt like we were a bit of a dream team. Like, we worked really well together. All of the processes that we ran together ran really smooth. We felt like we all really supported each other quite a bit. If we would have tough days, like, we would really take the time to make sure that we were addressing each other's concerns. Like, if someone would get a little bit upset with me during a meeting because I said something that they didn't like, I would go over as a friend and as a colleague and make sure that I understood what I did wrong so that I could do it better next time. This kind of like work-life camaraderie with these people was, I think, 1 in a million. And there were a couple of people from that place where when I went to Specialized, I really wanted to bring them with me. And so some of them had left Pearl since then. And so the first thing that I did was reach out to that group of people to see if they would be interested in coming to work with me at Specialized. And I was really lucky that a couple of them were. And so building up this dream team was definitely something that I also wanted to create for the Specialized team, because there were some amazing people there who just needed more support around them. And I knew that this group of people was going to be incredibly supportive because I'd seen them do it before. It totally made sense. And so as a leader in that space, I recognized that there was a need for this type of person, to like a super supportive type of person, a super family-oriented kind of team member. And now I do not believe that calling your coworkers family members or friends is necessary, nor do I think it's always healthy unless they are truly friends of yours. And I've had this in the past. I've had coworkers who I got along with great, but they were coworkers. And I've had coworkers that I've got along with great, and they've become amazing friends. I've also had coworkers in the past who I'm not coworkers with them anymore, but I now consider them family because we stayed so close. So there are all different levels. I'm not saying that just because you're working with a team of people at a place of employment that they should be called friends or family, but I am saying that in this instance, it did kind of feel that way. And I knew that we needed that at Specialized. So my leadership style to be able to recognize that and bring them in, I think was really crucial to us building up that team at the time. And then we were able to kind of fill in the holes from there. And what we needed to be able to do was really recognize talent. And so this is something else that I really pride myself on, being able to kind of reach out and do mass interviews. I did this when I started Unmarked Street as well. And about 6 months into starting Unmarked Street, I knew that I was going to need help because the clients that I was getting were taking up all of my hours right off the bat. I had no room to do marketing, social media, learn how to do any sales or how to do anything else outside of my business other than serve the clients. And while if I was a solopreneur or if I was just a fashion freelancer out there and that was all that I wanted, that's one thing. But I wanted to be able to serve as many clients as I could because I know that the level of reliability and knowledge that I can bring into these companies was going to be a game changer. So to be able to work with that many different clients while growing the company and being able to reach out to other people to offer this level of service, I needed to be able to have a support team under me. And so this came back again to being able to recognize talent. And in both of these scenarios, when we were hiring at Unmarked Street and when we were hiring at Specialized in these cases, we went out and did the typical, we're going to put together a full job description. We're going to list that job as many places as we can. We are going to read resumes. We are going to scrub through this list of people who are interested in coming in. And then we're going to whittle it down to the top, however many we feel like we can interview. Now at Specialized, I think we were able to whittle that down to maybe the top 5. And so we interviewed 5 people. We brought them in, we met them in person. And I think by the end of that round, I knew pretty clearly who I wanted to hire. And so I did. And we brought them in and we were able to then round out our team really well. And I was really proud of that entire hiring process. I think that team worked really well together. And through the leadership that we had at the time was really able to thrive. We were on a really steady process. I think a lot of us were having a lot of fun at work every day with each other. And then leadership changed and some other stuff happened. And so I think that kind of made a big shift over time. But when I did it at Unmarked Street, we interviewed way more. And when I say we, I mean me. I interviewed way more than 5 people. I think I interviewed dozens of candidates who reached out about being a developer at Unmarked Street and helping me with client work. And through these dozens of people that I got to talk to, I was really able to kind of gauge what their past experience had been, but more than anything, their demeanor. And so what you're looking for, if you are interviewing someone maybe over Zoom or you're on a call with them, or even if they're in the same room with you, what you're looking for is the way that they're going to be able to react to things. And this is great information for you too, if you're out there interviewing. Like, going into an interview and having a frantic attitude. And I know that it can be nerve-wracking to be on an interview, so it's hard to be like cool and calm all the time. But if you're able to show your talent and show your knowledge without being frantic and all over the place and having so many different thoughts and being a little bit crazy, which does happen on quite a few interviews, it can really set you above the rest. And so I think, pride myself in being able to recognize this in people. And there is a level of nervousness that people can have if they're excited about something that is very different from a general nervousness to their overall attitude. And you can just tell that that's kind of how they operate at all times. And so depending on what kind of demeanor you have, you want to find someone who either matches your demeanor. So for me at Unmarked Street, it was really important for me to bring someone on who matched my demeanor. I wanted to be able to give a certain level of service, a certain level of expertise and knowledge and reliability to our clients. And so I needed to find other people who had that similar demeanor and that similar attitude around work. If you're hiring at a big company, it could be the opposite. It could be that you need to hire somebody who's opposite you so that you can both complement each other when you are in the room together. And so recognizing that and gauging people's personalities is one of, I think, the first key things that you really want to do when you start interviewing people and start hiring for your company. Are you frustrated by feeling like an outsider in your own industry? You're not alone. I spent years feeling the same way. Are you tired of endless research and you can only learn this stuff by getting a job in fashion advice? Me too. That's why I created the Business of Apparel online course. My years of insider knowledge condensed into video tutorials, demos, and downloads. Learn at your own pace, no fluff. Just key topics like building target profiles and mastering financials. This information is genuinely unavailable anywhere else. Grow your brand, become an apparel industry aficionado, and unlock millions in potential revenue. The value? Over $50,000 with millions potential for your brand. Don't miss out. Sign up for the Business of Apparel online course today at thebusinessofapparel.com/course. The next thing that I always got involved in when I was interviewing as a young professional was I was always put through some sort of test. So when I interviewed for all of my different jobs as a technical designer, I was asked to come in person, run a fitting, and then stay and do pattern revisions by hand. And this was testing my actual skills and knowledge of whether or not I knew how to run a fitting. And if not, they could weed me out right away. And then even if I could run a fitting, did I knew what the heck I was doing when it came to pattern engineering and pattern changes afterwards? And if I didn't get the job. So I think that has gone a lot to the wayside is testing people for interviews. And I like to really bring that back. So when I interviewed people for Unmarked Street, the top, I think 5 or 6 candidates that I had, I sent out an Adobe Illustrator test. I needed them to be proficient in Adobe Illustrator so that we could build tech packs together, do designs together. And without that skill set, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to rely on this person to do the job that I needed them to do. So in today's world, that changes a little bit. I ended up having to pay people to do this test for me. I mean, it took them a couple of different hours to do the role. And so we had agreed on an hourly rate, and I gave them, I think, 3 hours to complete the test. And I said, basically, if this takes you more than 3 hours, then that probably means that this isn't a good fit for us. So I was able to do that, but to be able to truly recognize talent in executing tasks that you also need done, I believe that testing people and having them do something for you in the way of, if you're hiring a copywriter, ask them to write something for you. If you're hiring a social media manager, ask them to put a couple of different content pieces together for you. And you can pay for those pieces. You can say, if you give me a week's worth of social media content, I'll pay you whatever the going rate is for that. And even if we don't hire you, at least you'll get paid for the work that you had done. And that is a way to kind of get through this, but it also prevents you from hiring somebody and bringing them on board who might not actually have the skill set that you need, but is great in an interview. They might be amazing in the interview and they say they can do all of these amazing things, but when it comes to the actual doing and the actual test, they might not really perform at the level that you need them to. So I think that is another thing that has not been done very much recently in interviews. And I think it's a little bit of a shame for the people who are hiring because they're getting stuck in these situations where they're hiring people and they don't even know if they're going to be a good fit for the role. So I think that's a good way to kind of bridge the gap there. And if you are being hired for a role, I will say when I was hired as a technical design manager at Specialized, they didn't test my knowledge. They didn't have me do a fitting and they didn't have me run a pattern test, and they were taking a huge risk. And I saw that as a little bit of a red flag, if I'm being quite honest, when I was being offered the role. And so I did bring that up with them and we discussed it. And so we ended up kind of figuring that out and discussing what that meant for us. It actually meant a lot to them that I called that out. But at the same time, it helped me understand that there was also a lack of knowledge around this role at the company. And so because of that, I kind of already knew that I needed to be able to jump in with a higher level of expertise than most would have, because I needed to be able to come in and educate them on how that role needed to be run, how they would need to interview people for the future. And then that kind of projected me into a couple of different promotions and raises and roles pretty fast in that role, which was great. But I think the other thing that I really wanted to talk about a little bit today was what happens as entrepreneurs when we kind of start needing to hire people that are not within our wheel of expertise. So, for example, so far I've mostly been talking about hiring other developers or other technical designers or other apparel pros, because I can recognize pretty quickly what people's skill set are, if they can speak the jargon with me, and if we can talk about experiences, like we can share that. And so I'm able to recognize whether or not they have the skills that I need them to have. But when I'm hiring somebody for social media help or marketing help or sales help, it is really hard for me to recognize what's good, bad, or ugly, because I don't understand those skills myself. I'm learning them as fast as I possibly can, but I'm not an expert in those areas. I need to hire somebody who is an expert to come in and help guide me even on these things. Like, how do I put together a strategy? Can they put together a strategy for me and then I can implement against it? And so not recognizing what a level of expertise is in these areas, but as an entrepreneur and a small business owner, needing to start hiring some of these people and delegating this work that is not of my highest and best calling. Like, my zone of genius is not creating social media content. Like, I'm doing it right now and it takes me way longer to do than it should. And if we could just find someone in social media who could come on and like freaking rock it for Unmarked Street, then I think we would really be in a really beautiful place. Like, I probably really need to hire a marketing manager, someone who understands all of this from a really high level and can take us to a new place when it comes to all of this. But I will say I fall down when it comes to hiring these people, because I don't know what I'm looking for. And I think I have been trying to really recognize my leadership style and my management style. And just recently, we've been going through quite a few hires over the last couple of years, especially, like I said, when it comes to sales and marketing and social media management. And what I'm really starting to recognize is a couple of different things in myself. Number one, I'm starting to recognize that because I'm not the expert, if I am hiring a consultant or a freelancer or even a company who comes in and says that they're experts in social media management or they're experts in marketing, and they come in and they're relying on me to give them all of the tools that they need to execute, all of a sudden I'm starting to notice that this is a big disconnect from what I was hoping to hire. And so we've actually gone through recently a couple of different really fast hire fire scenarios, which I hate doing. But at the same time, we brought a company on. We really felt like we had vetted them out. And by time they really started telling us the level of work that they were going to do, and we started getting really nitty gritty into exactly what was going to be executed, it became really evident to me really fast that it wasn't what I was hoping it was going to be. And so the old saying kind of goes, hire slow and fire fast. And so I've started to really do that. And I've had to start leveling myself up to essentially have the balls to do that. And it's scary to let companies go or let people go. And it's not pleasant. It is never a fun conversation to have. But being a leader and being a CEO of a company means that you have to have the kahunas to go ahead and start doing both the hiring and the firing when you need it to be done. And so because we weren't going to be able to see the results that we wanted to see, and I just knew in my gut that this was not a great match, we went ahead and we departed ways pretty quickly. We've been going through a couple of other different hiring scenarios recently. We've been bringing some people on, and it's the opposite, where I recognize that it's my leadership style and my lack of knowledge, and it's their level of expertise where I don't actually believe that they are at the top of their game in these things. Like, when it comes down to budget and it comes down to hiring, we can't always hire the senior level person. We talk about this at Unmarked Street all the time. Like, it's expensive to hire Unmarked Street to come in and be your consultant every single day. We work with you as a team member. But when I left corporate, I was making multi-six figures. And so I'm not charging you that much to be your consultant because I'm not working for you 40 hours a week. You don't need me working for you 40 hours a week. My team and I are going to do it in 20. Trust me, we are efficient, we are fast, we are excellent at the work that we do. So you're going to be paying us about half what you would pay for a full salaried employee at our level to come in and actually help you. But it's still not cheap. It's not something that you can get away with paying us, $1,000 a month, because you are getting the best of the best in the industry to come in and help you run fittings, help you do development, help you do technical design. So on the same end, like if I want to be able to hire the best of the best and I want to bring in a marketing director for my company, I need to be able to pay for that. But if my company is not quite there yet and we're figuring out cash flow, we're figuring out budget, we're figuring out that right mix of profitability and how to pay myself and how much I should be paying team. Right now, we are also bringing people in at a level where I can't expect them to be at the top of their game. So because of that, I have to have a very different leadership style, and I have to recognize that we need patience together to learn each other's style. We need patience together to build standard operating procedures around what it is that they're going to be doing. And so some of these roles I've brought people on, and it takes us 3 or 4, sometimes even 6 or more months to just build a strategy together. Like we're working together, we're pinging ideas off of each other. We are constantly testing things. Did that email work this week? Or was it email B or C? Like which format worked for us this week and which one should we proceed with for the following week? How is this social media strategy this week? Are we doing too much? Are we doing too little? Is there enough work on everybody's plate? Is there too much work on everybody's plate? We are constantly working together, testing these things out. And because I realize that we don't have an expert in the room to tell us exactly how everything should be done, these are the employees that you don't want to fire fast, because you realize that it's your own leadership style that needs to evolve and needs to grow and needs to quicken so that they can thrive in their role. And so it's this really fine balance when you start hiring people and you start delegating out work as a small business owner, because there needs to be a recognition of when to fire fast, because the people that you've brought on are in your gut. They are not going to be at the level that you needed them to be, and they are not at the level that you were planning to pay them for. And then there's a total flip side to that coin, where you need to be patient with the people who you are maybe not paying a ton of money to, and you need to give them the chance to succeed. And by succeeding, you need to help them get to a point so that they understand what success is. They need to understand what success is in your eyes so that they can start reaching those goals. And it takes time for you to even understand what that is if you're not an expert in that area. So trust me, hiring, firing, and being an entire HR department as a single person can be really hard when you're a solo entrepreneur out there and when you're trying to build something big. Hiring is one of the most important things. When I first started career coaching, it was one of the number one things that I was taught to do. Start hiring team and delegating out the things that you are not wonderful at. If you are not amazing at marketing, if you are not amazing at sales, if you are not amazing at social media, hire somebody to come on and help you. But depending on what level you bring those people in at, you either need to have patience and learn alongside them and help to build that strategy up, or you need to hire experts to come on and be willing to pay them a price that they're going to charge you. I personally think it's really important to have a different mix. And if you're the type of company who is making great money and you can hire and afford to bring on the best of the best in the biz, then I really think that is the number one goal that we're all reaching for, to be able to bring on senior level, director level people so that they can own exactly what it is that they know how to do. And you can walk away from those departments or those tasks completely and trust that they've got you. They have got your back. I think that is kind of the epitome of what we're out here trying to do. But while you're building and while you're growing, I think it's just really important to understand yourself as a leader, understand your own management style. And also, I really, really just want to say, be transparent with your team. The people that I have on my team who I know I am probably bugging the ever-living shit out of because I'm changing the strategy all the time. We are testing things and then we're changing the test and then we're switching it up and then this isn't working, so we're going to do it a little bit differently. Like, I know I am micromanaging the crap out of that and I am driving them fucking crazy. And trust me, I get it. I've been there. Like, I have had managers like that and I know that that's nuts. So I am really quick to always say to them, like, I know this is nuts. I know I'm driving you crazy. I know this is really annoying. I apologize, but this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I am trying to help us get to a point where we understand exactly what the strategy needs to be and we can help each other get there, and then we can just run with it. But until we get there, we need to work together, and I kind of need to be in the minutia. So I think just being really honest and helping people understand where you're at is also a great way to be a leader, to help them understand how they can help you get to where you want to go. So if you like this episode and this helped you at all, my little rant on hiring and firing, please leave us a review. We would really love that. We are also trying to grow our YouTube channel this year. So if you can please like and subscribe and watch on YouTube, we would be very, very grateful. See you next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Business of Apparel podcast. I would so appreciate hearing your thoughts on the show. And if you know someone who could benefit from it, please share it with them. My biggest desire is to help other apparel professionals understand the nuances of our industry so we can all work toward making better product for a better world. If you would like to connect further, I'd love to invite you to send me a message through my website, thebusinessofapparel.com, where I do weekly trainings through my YouTube video channel, a weekly newsletter, blog articles, and so many more resources to help you start and scale a profitable apparel brand. This podcast is produced by Box 7 Media, who I cannot speak highly enough of. If you're looking to start your own podcast, you can reach out to Jeremy at Box 7 Media on LinkedIn anytime.